Our children should not move in the night, Honorable Minister. Our children should not be transported in trucks, lorry trucks. And they should not be packed like their luggage.
Right Honorable Minister of Education and Sports actually issued new guidelines on the issue of children, visits being organized for children. And despite these guidelines, but also other social activities in schools, despite issuing these guidelines, we have seen schools continuing to organize tours for children from long distances, and most of them are return journeys. So, Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister then pledged to bring a statement to update this House on the new guidelines. And I also want to know why, despite these guidelines, the school tours, which are okay, but the long distance tours have continued.
Right Honorable Speaker, some time back again, to do with the circular, we raised an issue of transportation of children in the morning schools. You find kids being picked at 4 a.m., 3 a.m., and then when you visit schools at 8 a.m., all of them are sleeping in school, in classes. Then you say, why wouldn't they be left to sleep and be picked at 7? So I don't know whether, as you come to give us, to clarify on the circular and guidelines, whether you can also talk about the picking of kids in the morning as early as 4 a.m. And taking them late. Thank you.
Honorable, there are guidelines that were issued on travels of these children when they are getting out of school, when they should get out of school, and what time they should travel. And some schools seem not to respect that. You need to kind of get away of reprimanding those schools that do not abide by the regulations and by the guidelines that have been issued by the schools. I mean by the ministry. Yes, before the minister comes, Ross.
Be able to bring it here and lay on table for all of us to help us, Minister of Education, to continue with this communication to that effect. The circular was very clear on even what kind of transport our children should use when they are going for study tours and which kind of study tours. We had even given approvals to be undertaken by the district education officers for purposes of regulating these study tours, because you're also aware that some schools are making it a business. And that's why we said there must be the involvement of the district education officer in terms of clearing whether it is a study tour or it is entertainment tours, name them. Madam Speaker, and I want to reiterate again to our countrymen and women out there, the Ministry of Education and Sport does not stop study tours. The Ministry of Education and Sports guides on how these study tours should be conducted. And that's why now, like for instance, the issue of raised, Madam Speaker, which kind of transport, what time should our children be moving, is one which we have all been able to categorically state in terms of the guidelines, the circular we issued.
For the circular, so that each member of parliament will have that copy. You are the representatives of the people in your constituencies, and you should be able to give that information to your areas. Yes. People who pick these students, I mean these peoples, leave alone students, peoples, are these people who do business, that you, the parent, goes and hires them. It is not the ministry that does it. It goes back to parenting. Parenting. If you want your child to have a comfortable life, go to school at the time when they are supposed to, don't go for that. Go for a transport, a mode of transport that you're sure of. So we cannot put a blame on the ministry for that. Next item.
Okay. My name is Atima Jackson Lee Buti. I represent the people of Arua Central Division in Arua City. The concern raised by the communities and the parents and the leaders, especially members of parliament, about schools defying the police guidelines by the Ministry of Education, where children, especially pupils from primary schools, nursery school children, and even secondary school children from senior 1 to senior 6, where they move long distances for academic tours, for other reasons, from one region to another, even from Uganda to another country. The students have ever moved out of Uganda to other countries as well. But Ministry of Education has come up with the policies. So the problem of schools defying the directives and policy given by ministry is very wrong, and that should be, investigated, especially those schools that have committed that should be investigated, and the leaders should be brought to book, because these are our children, these are our future leaders, and when we subject them to harsh conditions, first of all, their performance will be poor. It loses the purpose of that academic tour, because you are subjecting this student to a long distance, and in the course of traveling for a long distance, when the student reaches the area or the point where you wanted them to go and learn something, they will be sleeping, they will be sick, they will be fatigued, which is very wrong. Then number two, the long distances can also, cause the transport means to have, exhaustion. The driver can overturn the car, and many times we have heard that school ABCD or school this and that has got involved in an accident, and the children have died. Others have been, they end up in hospitals, and these are all attributed to failure of these schools adhering to the policy given by the Ministry of Education. So what we are saying as Parliament is now, let the schools adhere to these policies and the regulations strictly, let them follow it and implement it. These long distances should be well planned. If, students are traveling, if it's a long distance of over 50 kilometers, over 500 kilometers, like from Arua, Koboko, Yumbe, Moyo to Kampala, or even to Western Uganda. Sometimes people travel from Koboko to Western Uganda, to Mbarara, to Mirama Falls, to whichever. It should be broken into two. They travel halfway, they get accommodation somewhere, sleep, then they continue with that journey. Otherwise, it is so exhausting to the children. It makes them sick. The drivers get tired, and the accidents can occur in the process. Even secondly, the condition under which these children are taken care of. Sometimes they are not fed well. There's a fee that these students pay. There's a fee parents pay. And the food given, the welfare of these students along this tour route is not appropriate. Sometimes they are underfed. Sometimes they eat poor quality food. Sometimes even the conditions under which they sleep. Others go and sleep in some schools. They go and book schools in those areas where they go. And children sleep in classrooms, which is wrong. Yet the parents pay. So parents don't now know under which circumstances, under which conditions their children are being kept. Yet the report given by the children and the population that discovers finds that the children are not going through the right conditions. So we now appeal to Ministry of Education to enforce these policies, to follow up, to make sure the district education leadership, the district RDCs, the security fight, and eventually the policy that the Ministry of Education gives is adhered to, and the children are going for these tours in a very conducive environment. Even those who come to see Parliament here, they should be subjected to fair conditions. Proper arrangements should be made with members of Parliament from that district, from that constituency, so that these children, who are not the future leaders, can, get the education. They can have the meaning of this academic tour properly exhausted. Otherwise, it becomes meaningless, it becomes useless to have academic tour of these children. Now, on the last note, those who go out of the country, the circumstances and conditions in other countries vary from what our conditions in Uganda are. So when we are taking our children out of Uganda, we must make sure there's harmony between the policies of this country and the policy of the country where these people are going, so that when our children go there, they don't get challenges of a foreign country, and what they go for, the purpose for which that tour is organized, must be achieved. So this is our appeal as parliament, this is our appeal as legislators, this is our appeal as a country, that our children should